I'm Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses. My initial relationship with Lemmy was hearing Ace of Spades in 1980. Lemmy's bass sound was something that really stuck out. Half punk rock, was half like AC/DC, part something else, and all exotic.
This Rickenbacker through these Marshall heads and through those cabinets are his core tone. So if you think about it, like when you listen to his tone, it's very distorted, almost more like a guitar playing. And then the last person who would have played this would have been Lemmy. And this was one of his favorite basses that he'd had for years and years and years. You'll also see this on the Eat the Rich video.
Guns N' Roses we wrote songs and made our way through the clubs and got signed and made our first record, Appetite for Destruction, and we got this invitation from Motörhead to come to the studio. It was 1987. It's just fucking Motörhead, you know? Just this next level shit. And we go there, and I was, as the bass player, you know, of course, I'm like, Lemmy's already judging me before I walk in the door. Of course he wasn't, and he was the nicest guy ever. He's like, hey, I should get you on the Rickenbacker. And I'm like, well, I play the one bass, that's all I got. I can't afford a fucking Rickenbacker. I mean, you know? And I got up on his bass rig, and there's this fucking sound. And played, you know, Mickey started playing drums, and Phil was playing guitar, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm playing Lemmy's. This is the top. This is the tip top. He needs that Marshall. He needs that Rickenbacker.
One thing that he loved to do is he loved the way the A string sounded when he would play it. Because he could play it and he could play chords based off it. And always go back to that A. So it's fun. Whenever you see him jam, he would usually kind of go to that A. Part of that, too, is the way the A goes into these Marshall heads and cabinets. It has kind of the perfect tone. It's like a piano note almost in this distortion kind of world. So to get these tones, we wanted to make sure we were using his basses and his amplifiers to dial this stuff in.
We wanted to do a plugin where we featured like a groundbreaking artist. We've done many guitar plugins, so we wanted to do something for bass also. And there's only one name really when it comes to Marshall and bass, and that is Lemmy. Cameron Webb has been a long-time producer with Motörhead. He's done many of their latest albums. We worked with him in his Maple Studios in Orange County, and he had everything there that, you know, Lemmy's rig, his the cabs, the bass and the heads and Murder One, and it's almost like getting to see and touch the Pope's relics.
These belong to Lemmy. These are the cabinets he used on stage. He's got the 415s and he's got the 412s here. The core basic sound of Motörhead is a 57 on a cabinet. I often would try out other microphones. There's another microphone here called a D12 VR. And this, often I would try this out to try to get a little more bottom end out of his tone. Then what I would do is I would bring Lemmy in and he'd pick up the bass and he'd tweak the amp a little bit and he'd listen. If it wasn't right, we would sit there and we'd work for 10 minutes, an hour to try to dial in what his core tone was.
The first time I tried the amp, I turned up the volume a little bit and I realized it's so loud. It's so loud. In order to get the sound quality we want at Softube, we use physical modeling. So basically, I look at the schematics, and the schematics that tells you a lot about how it should behave. But then I also need to measure in order to capture all the quirks. We get all the interaction. I mean, for instance, the tone stack. The treble will behave a bit different depending on how you set the bass, for instance. We also measure the impedance on Lemmy's cabs in order to have the correct behavior, and that affects the tone.
If you start with the head, he played through a Super Bass 100. Well, I believe that that's a guitar amp, but he used to always tell me it was a bass amp because it said Super Bass 100. But that's what he chose. When it comes to cabinets, these cabinets were specifically created for Lemmy, for him to use. A bass player often plays through 15s, but rarely do they play through like a Marshall cabinet, and this is basically a Marshall cabinet. So he had his unique thing. So in sense, he was playing through a hopped up guitar rig almost.
This plugin is not only a bass plugin because it has so much distortion, and it's been worked on by so many techs throughout the years down the road. It's been left out in the rain, in the sun, it's been dropped, it's been, I don't know, broken, and it's been fixed. So there's a lot of strange things going on, and it has a great sound. So it actually works great for guitar as well.
It depends on your guitar. If you, for instance, if you have like a Strat, very attacky and bright guitar, it could be really cool to crank the presence, and then you get a high frequency distortion.
I chose to play with a pick because of Lemmy. He plays with a pick, a much thicker pick than I use. You can have Lemmy sound through this plugin. You've got all the tools to mimic his sound. All you have to do at that point is remember to attack the bass.